Hola! Welcome back to Learning Warriors Middle-earth, episode 5, I believe. And we're going to start on the Shadow factions. So the first one we're going to take a look at is the Corsairs. So the condition for the Corsairs to get into play is you have to muster the Salbrans and Easterlings all the way to war, and then you spend 1 muster die, and you start with 3 of these pretty little boats in Umbar. So that, just like how the Free Peoples factions works, if any of them are in play, you add the die to your collection of dice during the dice allocation phase. If at any point you have no factions to play again, then this die goes away again. So I think I haven't gone through the faces on the Shadow die before. I did that for the Free People's die, so let's do that for the Shadow player die. So it has an eye on it, so that's already a big difference. So like if it rolls an eye, then it works the same way as regular eye, and you cannot allocate it as an eye intentionally. Okay, so that one, their recruiting symbol is this triangle thing. Anyway, so aside from that, it's just like the Free People's one. So that one is recruit, and then the card with the arrow down means play a faction event card. The 2 cards just means draw a faction event card, and again, or recruit for this one. So there's the eye again. I know there's at least 2 other symbols. Yeah, okay, so then that one is either draw a card or play a card, and there's one more symbol here. There's that one. That one is a wild card. I think that's to make up for how it has an eye on it, which is kind of a little bit more useless. This one's a wild card, so you can recruit or draw a card or play a card with this one. So that's nice and flexible anyway. So how the Corsairs work, they have, like every other faction, they have their own 2 call to battle cards. So there is Born Up on the Wind. So if the Corsairs are in the same region as the Shadow Army and the Shadow Army is not under siege after casualties are applied, you may eliminate one of these Corsairs figures to transport up to 2 Shadow units from adjacent regions to the region with the Shadow Army. So this could be very handy. I think the spot it comes up most often anyway. Is say this army is fighting for Pelargir and like it's a pretty big fight. You could use that to draw reinforcements from South Athelion. Anyway, like if you're attacking Pelargir, you can play that as a combat card, and you can eliminate a Corsair then to pull 2 units in from South Athelion. Anyway, so that's pretty handy in that situation. Anyway, it doesn't. I think in an average game it doesn't come up, but it could be really strong in a certain situation. And then there's the last Stroke of Doom, which you see more often. So if there are Corsairs in the same region as the Shadow Army, and the Shadow Army is attacking in a siege battle, at the end of the round, you may eliminate one of these Corsairs figures to extend the battle for an additional round without reducing an elite. So if you had a stack of 5 Corsairs, and that is the stacking limit, like you can have 5 Corsairs, that's the max, then you could extend a battle for 5 rounds, but the downside is that's your combat card spot, right? So you can't keep playing combat cards. You're just trusting to the dice and trusting to your hit point and leadership advantage to score enough hits for it to actually work. So the event cards that come along with it, there is Black Sails. So this is a play on the table one that would stick around. You may use any faction die result to either recruit 1 Corsairs in Umbar or move all Corsairs up to 4 regions. Then if the Fellowship is at sea or revealed in a Gondor region, West Tyrondor or Osgiliath, you may discard 1 Corsairs figure to inflict 1 point of hunt damage following the rules for a successful hunt. So there's like a little bit of counterplay to the Western way here. Anyway, we'll explain the Western way some other time, and then this will come up more. But we're kind of just sticking to the Corsairs and how they work militarily anyway. So then there's 2 copies of a Great Fleet and 2 copies of Ships of Great Drought in there because, each faction has 5 cards out of a 20-card deck anyway. So a Great Fleet is recruit 1 Corsair in Umbar or add it to the starting setup. Then if Corsairs are in play, move all Corsairs up to 4 regions. So the Corsairs are weird. You can't just walk anywhere with the Corsairs, So this army with the Corsairs, if it walked to South Athelion, it cannot bring the Corsairs with it. The Corsairs would be stuck behind. The Corsairs can travel to any coastal region. So along the board, they could go all the way up to Grey Havens. They could even go up to Arnor here. It is technically touching the water there. So any card that's touching the water. Also, any Gondor region except Eric and Osgiliath. So the Corsairs can attack Minas Tirith, and they can attack Druiden Forest. They cannot attack East Emnet, Fold, or Western Emon Wheel. Anyway, so this is also relevant because, they can run up to 4 regions at a time here. So the Corsairs could run up to Druiden Forest all by themselves. They would have no conquering power and no fighting power there, but they're useful for the combat card, and they're also useful for their other card, which is Ships of Great Drought. Or Draft. I'm not actually sure how to pronounce that. Transport armies with Corsairs. Each Corsair's figure may transport up to 2 Shadow units and any number of Nazgul or minions in its region up to transport up to 2 shadow armies up to 4 regions, or transport 1 shadow army up to 2 regions and attack with that army. So if this army was back in Umbar here and you played Ships of Great Drought, you can't run past other armies anyway. So you could run to Pelargir and attack it with that card. You could also actually, in this weird scenario where Midas Strith is just left empty, you could go walk 1, 2, and then attack and just take Midas Strith like that. Obviously, it's usually going to be defended though. So it's not that great for compared to the original Corsairs, where you just went straight from Umbar to Dol Amroth and started an attack. It's not as powerful as that, but it could be really powerful for if Gondor gets messy and slow. The Corsairs are very helpful for bringing reinforcements fast, anyway. And they're also good for, using that combat card to rush down a siege, especially if you're scared of them playing Círdan's ships to reinforce Dol Amroth, then that can be good. And also, people forget sometimes that they can attack Minas Tirith, so you can also surprise people with that sometimes. And then, of course, there's also, if you did have Ships of Great Drought in your hand, and there is, that His Will and His Malice card that allows you to fish it out of the discard pile. So in theory, you could play it twice, and move, like after you've conquered Dol Amroth, move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 regions, and then you're ready to attack the Grey Havens. But of course, that relies on you having the cards and the dice to play it, and they might see you coming and, be able to muster up the Grey Havens in time. So notably, the Corsairs are eliminated if Free Peoples conquers Umbar. So that's an interesting thing. Like, it doesn't matter if they all get wiped out and they're not in play anymore. And they also don't die with an army. Anyway, you could muster them up again. But if these two guys do manage to walk into an empty Umbar and you had a bunch of players at Dol Amroth, they're all just gone. They're out of the game now. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.